All right, everyone. Welcome back to episode 10 of the Art of Approach podcast. My name is Timothy Bray,
And I'm Will Mulvaney.
and we are dating coaches with the Art of Approach. You can find out more about our program to get more dates and to authentically approach and meet new women, have genuine relationships at theartofapproach.com. And today we're going to do what we always do. We're going to review dating advice that's out there in the wild. We're going to look at Instagram. We're going to look at Reddit. And we're going to take questions from our community. So with that said, Will, let's have a look at what we got here.
First up, we got an Instagram reel. This one's coming from Elsa. We've heard from her before, so we'll see what we got.
Gotcha.
Tell you where to meet high-quality, attractive women in 2024 in less than a minute. Personal development seminars, the gym, charity events, the skincare aisles at grocery stores, dating apps like Bumble, dog parks and art museums, plays, foreign language meetups, Pilates and yoga studios. What else would you add? I'm going to tell you.
All right, so we got 9 options, really 10, because she put art museums and dog parks together. Those are just
art museums
very
and
things.
dog parks. Interesting.
Both good places, but they're not at all the same thing. I think they deserve their own category. What do you think, Tim? Do any belong on that list or any not belong?
It's kind of hard to tell because we can't actually hear the reel, and I forgot which one she said.
All right, for people listening, yeah, we can't hear the reel ourselves.
Where to meet high-quality, attractive women in 2024 in less than a minute. Personal development seminars, the gym, charity events, skincare aisles at grocery stores, dating apps like Bumble, dog parks and art museums, plays, foreign language meetups, Pilates and yoga studios. What else would you add?
Those are all good ones. I mean, so much of this really is dependent upon what's something that you find to be, something of your passion, of your purpose.
Yeah.
What's your hobbies? What excites you? What gets you moving in the world? I had a person who came in from a sales call. I was asking him, like, what are you into? Yeah. And I got video games, which again, video games are things that people are into. Okay. But he didn't really have any other interests. And I'm just like, well, Jesus Christ, what are you doing? You're missing out on life. Get some interests. There's lots of things you could be doing. Yeah, open your mind. I mean, I think, honestly, like, there needs to be some kind of program on how to open your mind to not only, like, amazing shit that the world has to offer, but also things like art and music and, like, something that, like, teaches guys to get their minds opened, because there's so much amazing stuff out there in this world. And most guys are just like tunnel visioned, and they find that one thing and that's all they think about. So find your passion, find the thing that really moves you. I really love pottery and I love doing art. So me going to pottery and art types of events is a really great thing to do. If you're not using meetup.com, there's plenty of those kind of opportunities on meetup.com. And if you're wanting to meet women outside of a particular focused meetup, I guess where would you think that really pretty woman would go? Right? Where would they go? If you're in a city like Austin, I mean, I could tell you a whole bunch of places. So, whether it's at, like, where were we just the other day? We were in the park. The park is an amazing place. Park is one of the best.
Highly populated park.
Highly populated. Women are actually quite open to you talking to them in a park, because we've been doing it with our group for many, many a times. But where I was somewhere else where there was, like, fancy girl shit going on. Like, Yeah, I mean, oh my God, yoga classes. I think
Yoga.
they must have mentioned yoga.
Yoga and Pilates is what she said.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, there's some like gyms in Austin that would be just the perfect place.
Yeah.
So if you really are looking to meet like women who are into fitness, like pick a gym that just has those kind of people.
Right. But also like there are more like feminine like restaurants and coffee shops that you could end up going to too. You know? Like I can't think of any off the top of my head. Maybe like I think Bolden Creek is like a place where it's kind of like a vegetarian restaurant that I know about in Austin.
It's usually like the nicer looking, like the
Nicer
like
looking,
ones that are just kind of artsy and
very artsy, aesthetically pleasing types of places.
Like the things that guys just don't care about usually.
I know, but keeping your eye open to that though is the name of the game. But if you're into sports, doing a social sporting event in Austin, we have this thing called Social Sports
Club.
Thank you, SSC.
Yeah.
If you're into sports, man, there you go. That's a great place to.
Yeah. Pick the right sport. Like volleyball is a great one. Volleyball.
Yeah.
I think you said you did football.
I did football. There were some ladies on the thing, but not many of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, pick the
volleyball,
right
maybe soccer,
sport,
that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Softball.
Yeah. Dog park. Did they say? Oh, they did say dog park. Yeah. Dog park.
And art museum.
And art museums. Art museums are great.
Are there? Do you know of any art museums in Austin?
Yeah, there's the Blanton down on Congress. There's the one on the UT one. There's a UT art. I forget what it's called though. I used to volunteer there. Yeah, any kind of museum, hang out there. And if you really aren't really big into art, you can go and just go up to a lady and be like, "Hey, I don't really know much about art. What is this thing about?" Give them an opportunity to shine. But I liked all of those. I think.
Did you like Bumble? What do you think about that one? That was the one.
I think
stood out.
Again, my feelings on dating apps is that if used in tandem with regular approach, then they can be very beneficial. But it's the fact that we tend to overcommit our time to using dating apps. We get lazy with it. We get reliant upon it. If we were to use it as a supplement, it's a better way of using it.
Dude, I saw Trip Advice posted something.
I saw that too, yeah.
Where it was like things to do in 2024.
Yep.
And one of them was spend 1 hour swiping a day.
Yeah, that's.
And I was like, no, that's
an incredible amount of time.
Yeah, it's not something I want to do.
That's an insane amount of time.
Yeah.
Maybe like at the most 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But an hour?
Every day.
I mean, again, he's trying to catapult dudes that are really hurting. So maybe that is enough time. I mean, again, men are the majority on those dating apps,
Yeah.
So
again, it has to be in tandem. It can't be just dating apps.
Oh no, because
You're it just for a world of hurt.
It just keeps pushing you down in your little comfy hole,
Yeah.
So it should be used as a supplement.
Okay, let's move on to Reddit. And we're going to skip the community question today, so we'll probably just spend more time on this Reddit one, and then we had a good community event yesterday that we can spend more time talking about.
Yeah.
So this Reddit post is titled "The Rules of Approaching a Woman." I've never approached a woman to ask her out because I'm unsure what the rule is for the best time to do so. Do I ask if there's a woman I find attractive, or do I wait a few weeks/months?
What? Weeks/months to approach her?
Wait a couple months, yeah.
Holy moly. I almost wonder if he's asking that because that's what he actually wants to do.
Yeah,
You know?
I think he wants to wait.
I'll wait as long as I possibly can.
Dude, first of all, there's not. If you're trying to push it out months, like you're probably scared. You're definitely nervous about it, and there's a thing that we do as humans where we imagine ourselves as someone different in the future. That like the person in the future me will be able to handle this, and that's how we like put off these kind of things.
Yup.
It's like, oh, future me will be able to approach the girl,
Mm-hmm.
and I've had that too. With my one scary approach that we've talked about.
Yeah.
I had that where I was like, oh, I'll do it, next year.
Mm-hmm.
It was close to the new year. So I wasn't saying wait a year. But I had that feeling of like, oh, future me is going to be fucking ready. He'll be good. So be careful with like, oh, I'll wait a few weeks or months.
I mean,
that's never going to get easy.
That's just how insane we can be.
Yeah.
There is no future you, bro. There certainly isn't going to be any future you that looks like that if you don't take that chance now.
Right. You have to start doing it now. Then you'll become that person.
It's almost kind of like saying like, future me will be able to hold that because I will eventually take the same chances that I'm not willing to take right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't happen.
But you don't become that future you until you do the thing.
Yeah. And this all goes back to one of the biggest things that people raise as objections for not starting the program, the artofapproach.com program, is that they're waiting for like a perfect time to start something.
Mm-hmm.
But there just isn't.
There's never a perfect time.
Because everything is going to pop up. Anything can pop up at any time. And, you're like, that is just the natural reality of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Things will pop up at inconvenient times, and it's our jobs to handle them when they come up to the best of our ability. And, that's putting so much pressure on you to, when you start thinking that way, to think that everything is going to have to be in a perfect place.
Yeah.
And that means that if everything needs to be in a perfect place, then what I'm going to have to learn is going to make me perfect too. And there's just no such thing.
Yeah, there's no perfect time. Yeah, I'm running the Austin Marathon in like 2 weeks.
Oh, damn. Okay.
And I'm not really training. I'm running like 3.5 miles a day.
Okay.
That's the most I'm going to run. And it's kind of like a thing where I want to prove to myself that like that perfect time thing where it's like, I'm not going to be trained. I'm not going to be ready physically, but I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Just as like a proof point to myself.
Yes.
This is something I can just do.
And just, to double down on that, that's what the universe wants us to do.
Yeah.
You start living your life with that kind of mode, that kind of way of thinking, and you start seeing shit happen.
Yeah. When you start just making things happen.
Taking action as opposed to waiting for the perfect circumstances to arrive.
Right. Not sitting in like preparation mode.
No.
Because when you do that and it extends out, indefinitely, then nothing happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. So definitely the perfect time thing is like, you need to make it this time, whatever the time is. Perfect.
The perfect time is your greatest illusion, gentlemen.
Yeah. And then like with approaching, when you have to go through barriers to get the approach, like if she's with her friends, if she's on the phone, if she has headphones on, if she's about to leave, like all those things, if you can like get through those and show her that, it looks so much better. Mm-hmm. Like you're able to prove yourself by going through the harder, barriers to the actual approach.
Yeah. I think the thing, not to harp on this anymore, but the thing that's, if you really want to understand how silly it is for you to think that there's a perfect time for something, ask yourself, how would you even know what a perfect time is?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how would that even come about?
Yeah. What would that look like?
Yeah. Now, maybe you could like look at like movies and see how perfectly things work out for like somebody in a movie, even though there may be a lot of conflict and da 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 da.
Right.
But your life isn't like a movie.
No, the movies aren't real. Someone got to choose what happens.
Yeah.
To script it out.
And really what they're really wanting is they're wanting a permission to feel comfortable doing the thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, Louis C.K. has a really funny joke about that. It's about, have you seen Good Will Hunting?
Oh, yeah.
It's such a funny joke.
I know.
About how like the movie is just set up perfectly so that people say the right thing and he has the exact right response.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's not real.
No.
Then you got to go and make your own perfect time. Like, yeah. And yeah, like you were saying, how are you going to know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You aren't.
No,
You're never
again,
gonna actually know.
Again, they just want it to be comfortable. And they think that if it's a perfect time, that equals comfortable.
Yeah.
But the perfect time, at least in a lot of women's eyes, is seeing you go up there with some big old balls and being like, "Hey, here I am. I like you." That in their mind, that's perfect.
That's it.
But for you, it is at the beginning. It's a challenge.
Yes. Yeah, we want it to be like, we walk by and lock eyes, and then she's alone, and we get the perfect chance to go talk to her or whatever, and we have the perfect line when we first get there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it just doesn't work that way.
Not in this world.
So what do you think about the rules? He wants like rules.
I love, again, that comes in the toolkit of perfectionism, is having tools, or I'm sorry, rules. I meant to say rules and tools. I mean, maybe there are rules. I don't like to think that there are, but maybe there are. Maybe there are rules.
I mean, there maybe are there rules if you can accept that there are also exceptions to each rule.
Yeah, I just don't think that the rules are the kind of rules that most people think that there are.
Yeah.
And I think that the rules are more, they're more abstract, and they don't tend to make kind of earthly sense a lot of the time. But the rules are that you need to be authentic in every interaction that you have. Meaning, you need to, if you have a desire, if you find a woman attractive, if you find a woman desirable, you express that.
Yeah.
Immediately. I mean, maybe not immediately, but certainly that's at the forefront of what you're going through. Then in every interaction that you're having, you're being present, because being present is being authentic to the fact that you are wanting to have that conversation in the first place. If you're wanting to engage with somebody, then it is of your best interest, as well as the most respectful thing to do, to be present so that you can actually fully take somebody in and they can fully take you in. And that everything that's coming out of your mouth is authentic, and you're giving the space for authenticity to occur with them as well. So you're giving them permission to open up. You're giving them space to open up. And then, at the end, it's you're expressing authenticity through offering the freedom of the invitation or the declaration that you'd like to see the world a certain kind of way, or that you would like to invite them on an adventure with you, and there's no expectation to the outcome. So, I mean, I guess you could really think about it in that kind of sense, that there are rules there, authenticity throughout, but authenticity takes different shapes and different kind of zones and lenses to look through. Like, for instance, like presence doesn't necessarily seem to be like outright like an act of authenticity, but when you think about the way that we converse with other people, something I learned in Landmark, it's this idea that you're listening from a place of some prior belief. So if you've ever noticed that, like, maybe if you're having like a heated debate and you're listening for certain things in that debate with the other person who you disagree with, and you're not listening to other things that maybe you do agree with, just so that you can stay in the right. just so you can prove your point. So there's authenticity that's required there if you want to have like a fully balanced connection. So maybe there is rules. Maybe the rules are all just based in authenticity. We just don't really know how to see that.
Yeah, those were not the rules this guy was expecting. For sure.
I know.
I think he wanted like a, don't do this, do this. Don't. But yeah, it's true. There are like guidelines of like, this is how you could actually approach someone and have it go successfully. But in terms of like rules, as in like hard set, like I think it's pretty open.
Yeah.
Pretty much like,
it's less so about like do this and don't do that, and more so about like creating the container for it to happen. And how do you create the container for that to happen? Well, inside the container, there's going to be the overlying rule, the rule that governs everything. That's authenticity. And then inside of this container, you're allowing things to happen instead of trying to control. And so it's not necessarily that you're like doing things inside this container. It's more so like you're getting into the container, only being your authentic self and allowing whatever happens in that interaction to happen.
Yeah.
Going back to, well, what happened yesterday with we have a meetup group here in Austin called Dumping Dating Apps and Attracting Authentic Connections. I think that's what it's called. I should know that. But we had a meetup yesterday. And in this group we get together with a bunch of people, men and women, and we go out to a park and we team up in subgroups and we go and approach new people and create conversations, get to know people. I went off and did my approaches. I set my goals that I wanted to get a couple interactions in. My first one, actually, I think it was my second one, went up to the super cute girl and just laid a compliment on her. Just said that she looked really beautiful today. And then I'd been wanting to practice this. So as soon as I did that, I just stopped at that point. And I just waited for her to respond, waited for her to gather herself. And just because, you go up to these women and
dropping a bomb on her.
Yeah, they weren't expecting that. They don't get it that often. So yeah, giving her time to actually sit back and relax and like take it in. And it felt so good. It felt, there's this fear that if I don't talk up and say something as soon as there's dead space, that I'm going to lose it. But it's actually the opposite.
Yeah.
It's actually the exact opposite. If you can maintain space, silence in that, give them the space to take a step in.
Do you know that feeling when you are like, I used to have this way more, and then like, basically you're kind of just living in your head for like a while.
Yeah.
You're not like making good social connections. And then suddenly just like someone like engages with you fully. Like they're completely present and you're like taken aback. You're like, oh shit. And it takes you a second to like actually go into that space with them. And so with these approaches, like you're coming in fully yourself. You're being completely authentic, completely present. And you have to hold that space. Because as soon as you start filling in the stuff, then all of a sudden that space is gone.
Yeah.
That space of just presence, of invitation. So you have to let her get over that. Like she was just in her head doing whatever else. And now someone is like fully engaging with her.
Oh, it's not just that. She was doing her own thing. You come up and you're like, who is this guy? Secondly, once she finds out that maybe once she gets the sense that maybe you're not like a threat, then it's like, okay, now I'm in social mode. So I'm like talking to this guy like I would socially.
Mm-hmm.
And then another layer beneath that is, how can I bring her into an intimate place of presence?
Yeah.
So there's like multiple steps she's having to go down the more she gets comfortable. And and it's like it's a huge undertaking that we're asking of these women when we go and do that. So being empathetic to their situations and understanding of the fact that this is a lot to take.
Insane.
A lot to take.
I haven't even, I just realized now I haven't even been thinking about that. I haven't been thinking about how crazy of an experience this is because I do it so much. To me, it's not. To me, it's like, this is
It's just another day.
another day. This is pretty normal. But yeah, thinking about like, to her, this is a very crazy experience. This is a lot going on. This is pretty overwhelming.
Yeah. And even for women that probably, do have this happen to, which there are. It's strange how there's some women that this just happens to, and it's not necessarily that they're more beautiful than the other ones, but some women just seem to have this happen quite often. But even for those women, I'm sure they still have to go through the whole.
They may know the more like the subtle invitations that we've talked about. They may be better at that, which I still don't think I notice. I don't know if I even noticed those.
Oh, you're talking about like the eye contact and stuff like that?
Because I'll just like approach anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I noticed those.
I noticed it with the last girl that I approached on Saturday.
Yeah, I remember that.
Even though
we
was
had that
with
one.
Someone.
She was with someone, but she wanted to talk. It seemed like.
But you saw it too, right?
No.
Oh, you didn't?
Avi did. I was behind.
Did?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just wasn't around.
But Avi saw it. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good one. We got that one on video.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. So rules. Hard to say that there are like any rules, but like Tim was saying, there's kind of a way to create a space and to open yourself up and let them join you there.
And then the other part of it is just like put on your friend energy.
Yeah.
Like how would you, if that person over there were your friend, how would you go over there and talk to them to begin with? Bring that energy. Like and really what we're asking you to do is bring familiar energy. Make the person familiar to you by bringing that energy, and it's going to be easier for them to be that kind of energy with you.
Yeah. And a piece of that is like back to the authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
Is like show your real self.
Yeah, because with your friends, you show your real self all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, with some friends.
I mean, yeah. The close ones.
Hopefully
The close ones I'm talking about. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, that's great. Yeah, let's talk more about yesterday. So yeah, Tim was saying we have a meetup group here in Austin. And we met yesterday. Good turnout. And then yeah, did you have any cool stories in any of your groups? So we usually do 2 kind of sessions or breakouts. So we'll talk in a big group at the beginning, and then we'll split off into groups of 3 to 4 people, and just go approach strangers in the park. And then we'll come, meet back up with everybody, share stories, and then go back out. And every time we try and set a goal, just so that everyone's staying on task.
Yep.
Doing what they came out to do. Do you have any good stories from your groups or approaches you did?
I'll mention the first one, or the early one that I did. And then, I mean, I was going through my own stuff yesterday with this sales call that I just, for some reason, just couldn't get in my calendar correctly in my head. So I was struggling with that. I was also really hungry too. But thank you, Will, for getting me some food. I totally needed that. But I was at the end of our meetup group, we decided to go out and film ourselves approaching women. It was me, Will, and Avi. And I was not feeling like doing that because I was already really tired and just exhausted from going back and forth throughout the day. But I did it anyways. I started off with 2 very low stake type of approaches. And then as I was telling the story earlier, there was a really, really beautiful girl that I saw make eye contact directly. Avi saw it too. And so I just turned around and I said to her, I noticed you made eye contact with me back there, and I just had to come up and tell you look really, really beautiful. And then I started telling her she had really, really beautiful eyes, and her lipstick was like a really good match for her eyes. She had like this like it was like a lime green eyes, and then these pink like the lipstick she had was really like a really non flashy form of pink, and for some reason I'm just someone that picks up on that shit. So I was telling her about like how beautiful that was, and then it's like, anyways, my name is Tim, and she goes, oh, I'm with someone. I said, with someone, that's an interesting name. I've never heard that name before. And I made a joke out of that, haha. And then she was just like, I love the fact that you just went and did this. I love the fact that you're doing that. I told her, well, you know, I am a dating coach and I'm doing my own practice by going out and doing this. And I also agree. I think guys need to do more of this. And she was like, hell,
And
fucking yeah.
Yeah, we got a lot of those type of comments. A mix from like even girls with boyfriends, like Tim was saying. And then there's one I talked to who was pretty receptive, and she said the same thing. She was like, it's refreshing.
Yeah.
To have someone come up. So yeah, totally. We had one guy in the group. It was his first time, and he said he was looking to make friends. But then I talked with him a little bit more, and I don't think that's. He said he wants to make friends, but that will turn into something else.
Was this Luis or
no? It's someone you had a call with. You remember?
Oh, yes.
I don't know if we want to say names on here, but
I
you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was like, yeah, I want to make friends, but like start as friends and then go into dating later. Which, I mean, I think that's just the way he sees how dating works. It's like
Sure.
you really get to know someone and then maybe it becomes something.
Sure.
And it seems like he's looking for like a serious
Yeah,
partner.
he's ready for the whole kit and caboodle.
Yeah. And so I don't know. I never know how to act in these groups. I never know if I should like, especially with new people, if I should like push them or like just stay away and let them decide.
I think you can ask them just like straight up.
Like, what's gonna
what would you
get you out there?
What would you like to have? You know, would you like it if I push you a little bit? Would you like it if I just held back?
Yeah, that's a good point. I should do that. But anyways, when I went to do an approach and then I came back and he was talking to a couple. And so probably not a dating opportunity, but friends. They all exchanged contact information. So I was happy with that he got out and did that, because I wasn't sensing, maybe this is my fault, but I felt like he wasn't going to do it. And that's just from seeing people in the past meetups who have come and been like, yeah, I'm just going to do one, talk to some people, and then they kind of just shut down and they don't want to do it.
Yeah.
So that was a win.
Yeah, and then the other thing was that he wasn't even planning on even making any interactions that day. He just wanted to come just to observe it, he told me. So the fact that he did get out there and
there you go
and made some conversations was really great.
Yeah. Yeah, what did you think about, did you feel different when, so like Tim said, we like filmed approaches for the first time after the meetup. Did you feel any different going into those?
Not necessarily going into those, but when they were on my phone driving home and I kind of wanted to look at them, kind of didn't.
Oh yeah.
That was when I noticed that.
That was that.
Oof. Imagine.
Interesting.
It's gonna be a little bit of time getting used to watching myself doing this. It feels very vulnerable to look at.
Okay. I felt the opposite. For me, it was going into them. I was also like dead brain. Like it had been a long ass day. I did this walk that's like a 5-mile walk at 8 a.m. And then we had gone to the meetup. And so I had just been outside for so long. And and talk to so many people. That was the other thing. Like for me, the amount of talking I did yesterday was probably more than any other day in my life.
Dude, I didn't even get up that early that day, and I still came home and fell right to sleep.
Yeah.
Fuck.
It was a lot.
It's just, it takes a lot out of you for sure.
Yes. But yeah, I felt more nervous going into them. But at the same time, I was like, my brain was so tired that I wasn't that nervous. But then I was like, oh, fuck. Okay. Like, this is going to be, now I have to like think about people watching me do this.
Yeah.
But I think I started to get into a rhythm with them. I had a few weird ones that we were talking about, like when you approach someone and they kind of just are like, oh, thank you. And then that's it. I'm bad at holding that space. Because like they might not be interested. It's definitely possible, but they also might just be overwhelmed. They're like, oh shit, what's going on? What is this? And so I think I want to work on giving them a second and not just like interrupting and butting out and being like, okay, have a good day. I want to go.
Yeah, that would be a great thing to practice on for sure.
Yeah. So I want to work on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was my my dog was acting up, Reba. She almost ruined one for me. Not actually, but she started she had been out with me all day, and she throws tantrums where she'll start jumping up and like nipping at me, and I had this sweatshirt with me and she would keep just trying to grab it from me. And I went up to approach a girl and I had Reba with me, and the whole time she's
still
just
didn't stop you from
going after me.
Setting up a date with her though.
No, yeah. I just had to keep Reba off me first, and then it worked out. But yeah, I really did enjoy yesterday. That was fun. Met a lot of beautiful women, and
yeah,
we got some great videos out of it.
Dude, it's so exciting, and I can't get over, like, on the, I think on the surface level, it looks like you're going out and, maybe getting lucky and getting like a phone number. Like, that's surface level. But the more you just sort of like dig down, you actually get into this kind of mental head zone where you're just like, I am so curious to see how this next event that I'm going to create is going to unfold. Like, what will it be if instead of walking by this really amazingly beautiful girl that I would never talk to in my fucking life, what if I did it?
Right.
And what would that event look like? And you just become kind of obsessed with like, what would happen?
Dude, you guys are like, you and her are in your own worlds, and it's like, what if they collided?
Yeah.
Like, you can make that happen.
You know what it reminds me of, though? It reminds me of like Grand Theft Auto. It's like, that's a game that is basically designed for you to do all the things that you would never do in this normal world if you're a regular sane person.
Yeah.
That's what it is
That's
like.
what approaching feels like.
For approaching is just like, I would never dare dream of doing this, but I'm going to do it right now. And I'll never know what that interaction would ever look like unless I went and did it. So I'm actually like opening up like a secret hidden cavern inside of reality.
It's like realizing that you are like in control of your world, of your life. Like you can take actions to change.
Yeah, for sure.
Like you are the cause of the matter, like you say.
Yes. But really what I just want to hammer home is just how there is the ability to have the most insane experiences that you could ever imagine that are out there that only require you just to get a little bit over your anxiety and go and talk to her. Like, that's what I was thinking.
There's so much out there.
Yes. And I also want to mention that, do you remember talking about the rush on these things before? I don't remember.
Right.
Let's just talk about the rush. Okay, so yeah, the rush is
good.
The most exhilarating thing that I've ever experienced.
You just experienced it too today.
And I just experienced it today too. And I've downhill skied, which is an incredibly dangerous sport. I had a fucking chopper for a while, which is the most terrifying thing you can ride. But I will say that nothing even close comes to.
You know what I just remembered?
What's that?
I had a dream last night that you pulled up on.
Really?
Yeah. And I just remember that now. It was so real. Like I was like, oh,
just
shit.
like, what's he doing? What's Tim coming to my house with his bike for? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that thing was absolutely fucking terrifying. It used to shoot me off like 3 feet in the air every time I'd run over a pothole. But there's just nothing that is as thrilling. You know, there actually was a song about this. I get no kicks from champagne. Mere alcohol doesn't thrill me at all. So tell me why is it true that I get a kick out of you? But they made it into this Mountain Dew commercial back in like the 90s or something like that, where you're like I get no kicks from cocaine, 1,000-foot fall doesn't thrill me out. I don't know, something like that. But basically saying, out of all of these things that could absolutely terrify me, bungee jumping, you know, all that, whitewater rafting, like for some reason, this thing that I just did after the failed podcast event that we had earlier today that did not work. Where I went and told our
Take two right now.
where I went and told our guest that I was really attracted to her because I was. She's gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. But dude, just coming out of that, I just felt like I got shot out of a cannon into the stratosphere.
Yeah.
And it's so exciting. And you know, the thing is like when we feel that energy coming up. When there's a woman that we want to go and talk to, it's a new feeling because now we're saying, I'm going to go and talk to her. This is the first time that we like stepped out of ourselves. I'm like, okay, I'm going to talk to her. Now I get this rush. And I'm just like, it's got to be anxiety. I don't know what else it could be.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be anxiety.
No.
I think that this energy that comes up that we label with anxiety, it can be used in whatever kind of form we want it to be used in. So maybe it's not anxiety. Maybe it's the energy and the authenticity of yourself and your spirit coming through. And it's the thing that propels you to move up and talk to her. You know, why can't it be that energy? Why does it have to be anxious energy?
Right. Because it's not like you feel relaxed. It's like your body is telling you, like, go do that. Like you have something to do.
Yes.
Here's the energy for it. Here's what you need.
Yes,
It's up to you to
absolutely.
go take that.
And, you know, honestly, I really don't think there's much of a difference. I haven't been in war, but I have a feeling there's not much of a difference than going out into the battlefield and also going up and talking to a woman. I have a very strong feeling that they're the same things, the same feelings overall. Like tons of adrenaline, you know, tons of excitement.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a rush.
Yeah.
What let's continue on that like span. I was talking to a friend about riding the highs. I talked to you, Tim, about this before. When you have those good approaches, just sitting on them and just accepting and like being like, oh, that was so amazing, and you ruminate on how good it was. You know, maybe even for days on end.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I know you're setting yourself up.
Yeah.
You're setting yourself up, y'all.
And it feels so good in the moment. You're like, nothing can ever go wrong.
Yeah.
Because this happened.
I know.
But you really are.
I know. But yeah, and it's because yeah, in reality, what do you have? You had a good interaction, you know, and it went the way you wanted it to go. But you don't know what's going to happen with that. You know?
Oh yeah, and that's building up.
Our brains go to like, that's it. I found my wife.
We're good. Yeah.
Man, I have wife tripped so many times, dude.
I can't even tell you.
So many times wife tripping.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna marry you. You're my wife.
Have you heard of Avios uses the term sandcastles?
Oh yeah,
So good.
yeah,
Like building sandcastles.
yeah. I know. That's a good.
Yeah, I'm always doing that. Like anytime I really like a girl, I'm like, fuck, like where's this gonna like and I start like envisioning things happening
Year
in the
3,
future.
year 4, year 5.
Yeah. Yeah, so you gotta be careful about that, about riding that high. Because it's you wanna enjoy it. Like that's this is a fun thing we're doing. But don't let it stop you. Don't let that like good approach pull you out of like what you initially were here for.
Yeah, because it's like physics. The the more you allow yourself to get excited and pumped about it, like one interaction, the equal and opposite effect can occur.
That's gonna happen.
So, like our emotion, when you think of like that condition of manic depression, they have these super highs and then they have these super lows. And that's the way our emotions work. So if
Yeah,
we're willing to put
regulate
ourselves
themselves.
out into a manic space, we got to expect that we're opening up the same amount of space on the other side.
Yeah. And usually it's from that building of the expectation and then the inevitable breaking of that.
Yeah.
Like you build up the expectation, you get super excited as you think about what's going to happen. And then something doesn't happen that you expected and you come crashing down.
Mm-hmm.
And you hit that equal opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah. So definitely being careful about riding the highs because in the same, like they correspond to the lows.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to be careful with lows because also the lows are where you're going to stop. Like that's where we quit.
Right.
Is yeah.
There's a whole
lows.
other aspect to this too, and that is like if you get super fucking pumped about one interaction you have with a really hot girl and like she really liked you, and if you continue to get pumped on that, you are ignoring the fact that you don't know her.
Oh yeah.
And you're setting her up to be something, you're setting her up on a pedestal most likely, getting excited like that. And you're gonna come in that excitement, that thrill, that fantasization of her, and also probably objectification at that point because you don't really know her. You're just probably into her hotness, into her sexual aspect. You're probably setting yourself up for inauthenticity there because you're not really being present. You're not really connecting to the way that things are.
No. Yeah, that's an interesting thing. It's hard. You can't really be present when you build this person up because you're not really talking to them.
Yeah.
Anymore. You're talking to a version of them that lives in your head.
Right.
And that's like filtering what they say, which we've been through.
Mm-hmm.
I went through just recently, so
yeah,
we know about
it. You were very well disciplined throughout most of it, though.
Yeah. Yeah, I came out a better man. I learned a lot. So.
Nice.
Yeah. So that meetup, good. What else has been going on? I had a date on Friday that ended up just we didn't connect.
Okay.
It didn't work out.
Yep.
Nothing wrong with that. It's still an enjoyable time. I don't know. Is there anything else new with you? That's
You've been witness of everything. And we just talked about everything
dating
that I've been
clients.
going. Yeah, I was a little uncomfortable about telling the woman I just told.
Were you scared before? Or like were you feeling that anxiety? A
little bit. I was more so just like I don't know when to say it.
Yeah.
Because
but you knew you were going to.
Didn't want to call it out in front of you. I kind of wanted to do it private somehow. But I was also telling Will, I was like, I don't know if I should do this because this is kind of like a professional relationship that we have. It's like, all right, well, whatever.
Yeah, I didn't know if you were going to. I had no idea.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Ah,
Until you stepped out. And I was like, oh, shit. Okay.
yeah.
So you weren't too anxious about it?
Not super anxious.
Okay.
The thing that I got the most anxious about was when we were with the meetup group and I was doing the walk and talk. That makes me the most nervous
Like talking to someone walking
while
by.
they're walking.
Okay.
That's my thing. That's where I need to practice.
Interesting.
It's just
I would have been more nervous to do what you just did than the walk and talk. Yeah.
Oh, really? So I have ADD and it's very hard for me to set and focus on something, especially if there's a lot of shit happening.
Yeah.
So on the trail, there's people coming this way, there's people coming from behind you. You're like walking with them, trying to understand where they're coming from, da 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 da. So I think I get a little overwhelmed trying to be present while walking. Much more prefer to be like in a stationary position to talk.
Well, I like to if I approach someone who's walking, I will like slow down and then stop. It's kind of an invitation.
Explain that a little bit more.
So I'll walk with them, but not for very long. And then I'll start to stop. And then typically, if they're interested, they'll just kind of turn and stop with me.
Interesting.
Because I don't want to, like, some guys in the group will like
they'll just keep walking.
Walk like a mile off and then
I know.
like, come back 20 minutes later.
I hadn't even noticed that you did that, man.
Yeah.
That is interesting. That's really the way to do it.
Yeah.
So you just slow your pace down.
Yeah, you just start to slow and stop.
And if they slow their pace down, then you'll probably know that they actually want to do that, most likely.
And you don't like stop. You like keep the conversation going. You just come to a stop. And it's pretty clear when you do that it's like, oh, let's stop here for a sec and just talk. Because it's kind of inauthentic to go walk with someone like when that's not where you're going.
It also feels like with somebody who's trying to panhandle, get change from you would do too.
Right. And yeah, you're not giving them the opportunity to like get away if they want to.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I'm coming with you.
That's brilliant, man. So guys, when you're doing the walking approach, I think that a really good tactic that Will's using there, just to slow, maybe as you're, this is how I'm guessing it's going to unfold. You're gonna run up, you're gonna get at like a 45-degree angle in front of her, and then you're gonna say, hey, I saw you back there and I thought you were really beautiful. I had to come up and say hi to you. My name is Will. Hopefully they don't give you a name like I'm with someone. And they introduce themselves, and then from that point, once the conversation gets going, is that kind of like where you start to just like slow your pace, would you say?
Yeah.
So just like gradually slow your pace, and then if they end up slowing their pace. It's
not even that gradual. It's like I'll kind of just slow right to a stop.
Oh, really? So it happens pretty quickly? Oh, okay. I love that.
Yeah.
And have you done this with girls that are like running?
No, that's the one I don't do.
Oh, you just don't do running?
But I do that for my own, because when I run, I have this like this mental thing where I'm like, I have to run a certain amount and I can't stop until I get to that. And so I would be really annoyed if someone tried to talk to me.
Dude, I would never talk to a girl who's jogging.
And so I don't.
Fuck that.
I don't do it.
That seems way too. That seems like they are in their task. That's just the same thing as like going up to a girl who's like maybe on the bench press and talking to her while she's on the bench press, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, don't approach girls that are running, like obviously running, like exercise running.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one I just, like you said, they're doing their thing.
No.
It's not the time.
Yeah, no, that's really good. I think a lot of guys are gonna really get a lot out of that idea. Yeah.
Cool.
I certainly am. I'm certainly going to try that
Give that a
out
shot.
for sure.
Yeah, you'll be surprised. It's similar to like when they're on the phone and you think like, oh, they're busy. But well, yesterday that was I talked to this girl and she was on the phone and I noticed the name was like a guy name. It was like Tyler. But she wouldn't say anything about it. And then as she walked away, I was like, okay, are you in a rush or something? And then she was like, yeah, and I have a boyfriend. So sometimes the phone like can be a bad thing, but there's so many times where I've approached girls on the phone and then they're just like the phone disappears. They're like, hey,
Yeah.
1 sec. And
I was talking to Avi about this the other day, and he said that he was a little nervous about doing that. And I was like, who isn't on the phone and who isn't checking their social media and who isn't on headphones?
yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like it's everywhere. So
That's
people,
like the perfect timing thing.
yeah. And also, just imagine you're a girl, you're on the phone with your girlfriend, and a handsome dude comes up and says, and you're the girlfriend, and you actually like hear your friend has this handsome dude say like, you just look beautiful today, and then imagine the conversations that they get to have after that. I mean, it's a great
so much
story.
fun. Yeah.
Who wouldn't want to have that story?
Yeah. Yeah. So make your perfect.
The thing with approaching women when they're on the phone, just pay attention to what their face looks like. If they look like they're in a serious conversation, like if they don't look happy, if they don't look like they're having fun chatting with their friend, then don't approach.
Yeah. I mean, and even you still can.
You could.
But I would say just be more
lighter touch.
Like you're just giving a compliment.
Yeah, just like real quick, you were just so beautiful. I just had to say that, okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then just give them the opportunity to like put it away, or if they keep talking, then let them go.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that.
Definitely. Because the face thing that's good, but like RB, like resting bitch face, some girls just have that where they just look serious, or they look mad, and that's just how they like their faces. And I have that too. I have that where I like, if I'm not smiling, I just look like angry.
Like a rock.
Or stern, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, in most cases, if they're not crying on the phone, I think you can at least do a light
I guess
compliment drops.
That would be a hard one. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else?
No, not at the moment.
Cool. I'm good.
Okay.
Let's wrap it up.
Let's wrap it up. Thank you all for joining us to episode 10 at the Art of Approach podcast. Again, you can find out more about our program at www.theartofapproach.com. And we release these podcasts every week. So please keep listening. There's going to be a lot of great stuff we're going to be dropping. We're going to have a new guest next time.
Guest coming up.
We're kind of talking about during this podcast.
She'll be on in 2 weeks.
Oh, 2 weeks. That's right. Okay.
Release.
So we're going to have, okay. But yeah, we have a lot of other great stuff planned. So thanks again for joining. We'll talk to you soon.
Peace.